Hello, my name is October Garza. This is my presentation on the Rococo period for the mini art history presentation. Um, so let's get on with it. The Rococo period originated in Paris, France, and it lasted from the beginning of the 18th century to the end of the 18th century. And during this time, it spread from Paris all the way through the rest of France into Germany and Austria, and also um, into other parts of Europe. So, um, so the Rococo period is not just paintings; it's also a lot of other things like interior design, decorative art, architecture, sculpture. Um, it's just that all of my examples are paintings. Um, so let's go into the major characteristics and art and artists associated with the Rococo period. So elegance and excessiveness and ornamentation and grandeur, um, which just all fall under this one category of elegance. But is they're all reoccurring themes within the Rococo period. And the next is lightness, and this is not just lightness in terms of light and shadow, but also lightness within the Rococo period's color palette, because the color palette is mostly pastels, ivories, and golds. Um, and the forms, there's a lot of organic, curved organic forms in the ornamentation of the Rococo period, and we can see this in shell shapes and also C and S curves and counter curves within the forms of the Rococo period. Also, when it comes to the compositions of the Rococo period, I'm just going to keep saying Rococo period over and over again until it means nothing. Also, within the composition of this period, there's a lot of asymmetrical designs. And another theme that is recurring is a theme of eroticism. And this can be seen in artworks like The Swing and Triumph of Venus. Which, speaking of those paintings, we can move on to to artists and artifacts associated with the Rococo period. So, The Swing by Jean-Honoré Fragonard, The Embarcation for Cythera by Jean-Antoine Watteau, Triumph of Venus by Francois Bouchard, The Declaration of Love by Jean-Francois de Troyes, which we can actually see a little bit of in the image on the right-hand side of this screen. Moving on to our first artist exemplar, it's The Embarcation for Cythera by Jean-Antoine Watteau. And what makes Jean-Antoine Watteau a little bit different from the other artists is that he is actually credited for birthing the Rococo painting, not the Rococo period, but the paintings within the Rococo period. Also, another thing about him was that he was also ill. He was chronically ill. He was described as being sickly for all of his life, and he actually died from tuberculosis, laryngitis in his 30s. Moving on to the actual painting, The Embarcation for Cythera was made in 1717. It's an oil painting on canvas, 4'3" by 6'4". And although the image I have here is a little bit blurry, the three couples in the foreground here, on the center to right hand side, are actually stages of courtship, which are relevant because Cythera is actually the island where it's believed that Aphrodite was born on or in, and Aphrodite is known as the goddess of love. Moving on to The Swing by Jean-Honoré Fragonard. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So Fragonard was born in 1732, died 1806. So The Swing was made in 1767, 31 by 25 inches, oil painting on canvas. So this painting actually speaks on the infidelity on the infidelity of the woman in the pink dress on the swing. We can tell this is about infidelity because the man on the left hand side is actually looking up the woman's skirt, and there's also a statue of a Cupid holding his finger to his lips in a secretive manner, speaking of the secret desire between the man on the left and the woman. And the man on the right, in the back, holding constrictive reins attached to the woman, is actually her husband, who is in the shadows or in the dark about her, in the dark, and does not know about her infidelity. So yes, and moving on to the third, which is Marie Antoinette with a Rose by Elizabeth Louis Vigée Lebrun. I really hope I pronounced that one correctly. Um, so she was born 1755, died 1842. Marie Antoinette with a Rose was made in 1783, 46 by 35 inches, is an oil painting on canvas. Um, so Elizabeth was a little bit of a prodigy. She really, like, her first exhibition into the Queen's Salon, she got that when she was really young. But also, um, her original artwork that she wanted to exhibit for the first time in the salon, um, was this same exact painting as we see right here, but with Marie Antoinette in a muslin dress a instead of the silk dress that we see. And whenever she originally exhibited the painting with Marie Antoinette in the muslin dress, she received a lot of backlash for painting Marie Antoinette like that. And she felt pressured into changing the dress into the blue silk gown that we see today. So there you go. And our last is Triumph of Venus by Francois Bouchard. He was born 1703, died 1770. Triumph of Venus was made in 1740. It's 51 by 63 inches. It's an oil painting on canvas. And it really speaks to the eroticism of the Rococo period. And that is because there are a lot of naked forms in the painting. There are cupids flying around in the air, twirling around. And also, the focal point of the painting is, of course, Venus, or also known as Aphrodite, goddess of love. So that's how we know it falls under the more erotic themes and is actually a great example of the erotic themes within the Rococo period. I will stop talking about that now. Thank you. Moving on to the timeline. So before the Rococo period, there was the Baroque period. And with the Baroque period, some good examples of main characteristics are the dark colors, the symmetry, and the regulated grandeur. And as I said before, there was a lot of unregulated grandeur. And all that within the Rococo period, and that's because it was a reaction to the Baroque period. They saw what the Baroque period was doing, and they're like, "We're tired of it. No, thank you," and they literally did the opposite. Um, so, what gave birth to the Rococo period was actually King Louis XIV's death. The nobles felt liberated, and they started seeking pleasures and started throwing and attending parties and um, engaging in leisurely activities. But the problem is that they were able to pay for these activities because of the heavy taxes that the lower class were paying, and the peasants or the lower class actually got quite tired of this, and that's what leads us to the end of the Rococo period, which was the French Revolution. The lower class just got tired of it, and so they revolted into what we know as the French Revolution, and well, the French Revolution of the early 19th century. There's been multiple French revolutions, but yes. Anyway, so that was the end of the Rococo period. And these are my works cited, and that is all of it. So yeah, thank you for watching my presentation.